In this video, we're going to continue our series on Python objects with Python's text type, strings. In Python, text objects are called strings. The interpreter identifies strings by the notation that marks their boundaries, which is called their delimiters. Strings in Python can be delimited by single, double, or triple quotes. So here I'm passing a string with single, double, and triple quotes to the type function, and it tells us that each one of those is a string type object. A string must end with the same notation with which it was initiated. If I begin a string with a single quote and try to end it with a double quote, it's not going to work. The interpreter is going to raise a syntax error and tell me that I gave it an unterminated string literal, meaning I'm beginning the string with this single quote and I never included a ending single quote, so it looks like this is unterminated. You can include single or double quotes inside a string by delimiting the string with the alternate notation. So here I want to say that Walmart's current stock price is $68.13. This single quote in Walmart's would end my string if I began my string with a single quote. So instead, I'm beginning my string with a double quote, which causes the interpreter to interpret this single quote as part of my text, and then I'm ending this string with a double quote. Conversely, in this string, I'm quoting Walmart CEO Doug McMillon saying, as we invest in technology, we want our people to go with us. That quote requires me to use double quotes, so I'm beginning my string and ending my string with single quotes so that the interpreter treats these double quotes as text rather than delimiters. When you need to use both single and double quotes in a string, like here, I'm saying Walmart's CEO said, and then the quote, preceding interior quotes with the backslash symbol will prevent the interpreter from treating those quotes as delimiters. The backslash symbol indicates that the following character should be executed according to a secondary operation. The backslash symbol is kind of like the shift key on your keyboard in that it tells the interpreter to use a secondary function for the character that follows. In this case, it's saying this single quote is not a delimiter, which is the first thing that you would assume it is as the interpreter. It's just plain text inside my string. Instead of using the backslash symbol, if you want to include single and double quotes in the same string, you can delimit the string using triple quotes. And then the interpreter will know that neither this single quote or this double quote is a delimiter. A string delimited with triple quotes can span multiple lines so that I can display something like this. If I try to use a single quote with a string spanning multiple lines, the interpreter gives me a syntax error. It thinks that I've given it an unterminated string literal again. If I use a double quote, it gives me the same thing. As you would expect, strings can't serve as operands for the same operations as numeric objects. So for example, Python can calculate the absolute value of an integer, the absolute value of -10 is 10, but it can't calculate the absolute value of a string. If I try that, the interpreter will raise a type error telling me that I've given it a bad operand type for the absolute value function. However, when you give strings as operands to the plus symbol, the plus symbol initiates concatenation instead of addition. It initiates a different operation. In this case, I'm concatenating introduction to with Python. If I execute that, those two strings are concatenated together. In this case, the plus symbol is being used in a different sense. Kind of like in English, we use the word clear to mean maybe clearing a whiteboard. There's nothing else there. But I can also use the word clear to mean that an idea is easy to perceive. It's clear. Similarly, the asterisk symbol initiates repetition instead of multiplication when you give it a string as an operand. Interpolation is an operation in which a textual representation of an object is inserted into a string. Python provides multiple methods of string interpolation, but the most common is called formatted string literals, or f-strings for short. F-strings and other interpolation methods are used to produce dynamic text outputs. For example, if you developed an algorithm to predict a company's stock price, you could automatically output your results using an f-string. In this case, we have a string that says our algorithm predicts that the price of some ticker will change, rise or fall, to some predicted price. And we want these fields to update automatically. We've created a ticker variable, a change variable that tells us if the price is rising or falling, and we've calculated a predicted price of 416.21. If I execute this f string, the values of my variables are dynamically inserted into the string. F strings begin with the letter F, followed by a string containing some number of replacement fields, which are expressions delimited with curly brackets. The interpreter evaluates the expression in each replacement field and, if necessary, converts its result into a string. So right here we have the expression 2 plus 2, which yields the integer 4. That 4 would be converted into a string so that when I execute this cell, I get 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. And these single quotes on the outside of my output indicate that this whole output is a string. In some cases, you might want to change the formatting of your interpolated object. In this case, the predicted price is 416.20 instead of 416.21, so that when I print my f string, the price that I get has only one decimal. The interpreter is taking this 0 to be insignificant and is printing only one decimal place. So if I want to change that, I can add a formatting specification using Python's formatting specification mini language, which is comparable to Excel's custom formatting notation. You use a colon to separate your formatting specification from the object you want to insert into your string, like this. I have my variable name and then a colon, and then here I have my formatting specification, which is .2f, which tells the interpreter to display my predicted price value as a floating point type object with 2 decimal places. When I execute that, I now have my 0 back in my price. You can test whether a character or a series of characters is in a string using the in keyword. In this case, I have an excerpt that says PPG's depreciation expense is calculated using the straight line depreciation method. Maybe you're checking to see if straight line is in that excerpt. You would do that by typing the string that you want to check for, and then type the in keyword followed by the name of the string that I want to test. When I execute that, Python tells me true. Straight line is found in this excerpt. You can use the len function to check the length of a string. I type the name, a couple of parentheses, and in between the string that I want to check, and this tells me that there are 85 characters in this excerpt. Finally, Python provides the str string function, which allows you to convert objects of almost any type into a string. Here I have the integer 123. I'm passing that to the string function and storing it as a variable. Then when I multiply that variable by 2, rather than getting 246, I get the same string repeated twice. This has been PyFi's video on string objects in Python. If you found it useful, please give the video a like, and if you want to see more, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.